I am on a journey towards discovering higher versions of myself. And just like every journey, it gets pretty lonely sometimes. This is why I've made it a goal to bring as many people as I can on this personal development journey towards higher versions of themselves, towards achieving that dream life, towards fulfilling your purpose, towards being all that you can be. No more mediocrity, no more playing it small. I am Judith Bengo, and this is the JM Show. Praise Olaoluwa is an entrepreneur and relevant strategist with fortes in branding, communications, and strategy. Praise has so far in 6 years led teams and projects across verticals in varying industries and continents. He has had his fair share of failures in businesses, and these have strengthened his resolve in building successful and phenomenal enterprises that solve problems, create jobs, and outlive him. He listens to and advises entrepreneurs, businesses, and culture shapers when asked. Praise is currently a partner at Base 12, an innovation lab helping individuals and organizations transform themselves through digital innovation. He has also founded and is invested in a few technological startups. Everyone, meet my guest for today's show. How are you doing today, Praise?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Judith. We've been looking forward to this. Thank you for finally having me.
I know, right? Yeah, it is such a huge privilege to have you here. Thank you. So,
That's
guys,
okay.
Praise is someone that I really, really admire. Like, he's someone who is codedly making waves. You meet him and like, okay, it's so simple, but nah, there's a lot of deep stuffs about him that I hope we can unravel in this interview.
Are
But
you are you actually sure about that?
yes, 100%.
All right, all right.
Can you tell us a bit about how it all began? Your businesses and like everything you're involved in. How did you start off?
Okay, so I started off as a graphic designer. Um, let me make this clear, or let me put this forward already. I didn't anticipate I was going to be an entrepreneur or to end up like this or to be on this path. But then I started out as a graphic designer. That was say about 7 years ago, if I remember correctly. So the funny thing is, the idea wasn't for me to start out as a graphic designer. The idea was for me to start out as a photographer. So I went to, my parents enrolled me then to, because I was still staying with them then. So they enrolled me to a photography school, training school. So it was one of the best in Ibadan then, because my parents stay in Ibadan. I stay with them then. So it was one of the best then. So I started learning. I was interested. It was nice. A lot of new experiences, and I happened to be this creative person. I enjoy things that creatively fascinate me. So I only discovered the training or the photography training was supposed to last for about 3 to 6 months. I can't remember that so well. So I only discovered more than half the time when I was learning photography. I only focused more on the software that was used for photography, say the post processing softwares that's to do with the Adobe suite, say Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and all that, and Lightroom as well. So I only discovered I go to the studio and well, instead of me to be in the studio taking photographs, taking pictures, I spend time processing. So it was more time spent in post processing that introduced me to graphic design. Then started to discover that these softwares themselves could be used for things like graphic design. Then I think I just fully dived into it. So I would want to say the way I abandoned my photography dream or pursuit, and I think I just decided to face graphic designing. So I started out that way, and ever since then, it's been a really really good ride. Yeah, I had a few bumps down the road. I mean, I didn't know so much. I didn't have an experience. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to transition from being a freelancer or a skilled person into an entrepreneur. So there's been a whole lot of bumps on the road. But I would say the journey has been worthwhile. So I started graphic designing. I started out even not knowing fully well what graphic designing was about. I didn't understand principles.
Wow.
I didn't know how best to use the tools, but I just had this thing. Well, I should just start. I think when I start out, then I become perfect along the line. So I took the plunge and started out. I can very much remember the first money I made from graphic design. That was after a whole lot of free jobs, a whole lot of let me design for you. I'm a designer, and so I remember that very job. I got paid for it, and till tomorrow when I see that design, I'm like, why did these people even pay me for this?
Is that not everybody? Is that not everybody?
Because yeah, yeah, because I'm like, why did they pay me for this? But the thing is, I believed in myself so well. I didn't wait to be perfect. I didn't wait to be a professional to put myself out there. So I think the person who paid me then saw the confidence in me, and he saw the ginger I had. I mean, I needed to do something, and I was doing it, even though I wasn't perfect. There were a lot of corrections on the job. Oh, do these iterations, do that, do. But at least we landed at something quite usable, and he paid me for it. And ever since then, the journey has been onward. So I mean, I realized I could make money from this. Why don't I just face it squarely? So I was in school at the time as well. I was in university. My first degree, I studied geology, so I was in university then. So, well, I took this on then, and I was doing it as a side thing. I was doing it as a side thing. Then business started to grow. I mean, there were demands. Then I went to the pursuit of self development because I didn't really know people at the time who could when I wanted to dive into business per se, say make or turn the skill into a business, I had to benchmark and I had to I mean spend a lot of time on the internet to see what people have done so far and to see the global standard because I wouldn't want to be a local champion and say, oh yeah, I have the skill, I can do that and not measure up to what obtains globally. So I started to do that, like to search for global trends and benchmark myself with that. I did that, but it was difficult for me to get a mentor who could actually show me the ropes locally here in Nigeria. Well, I might say I didn't search enough or I didn't search deep enough, or maybe those mentors are also as low key as you claim I am. So I really don't know which. But that actually made me dive into self development. I took or spent a lot of hours on YouTube watching, creating. Sometimes I spend 3 days on a design, and after a while, I'm like, what have I done? I start from the beginning again. So I got better at it. Then I decided to create a business out of it. So I started getting too many demands, whereby I had to adopt a pricing strategy to cut down the demands I had because I was charging the market the average rates then, and there was still demand, and it was beyond me. So I had to increase my prices to reduce the demand. Even at that, I was still being sought after. So then I realized, okay, this is becoming more than me. I think I need more people. I need people to work with me. So that's pretty much how I started. And so far, oh, I've transitioned to several other things. Pretty much my forte is now is branding, communications, and strategy. So now it's beyond graphic design, completely beyond it. I can't even remember the last time I sat to do graphic designs.
Amazing.
So that's it.
Amazing. So many lessons there. I really liked what you talked about not waiting to be perfect before actually venturing into, I mean, what you wanted to do. And then you land on the job. So I really loved that part that you talked about. You just talked about strategy and really what does that entail? What do you do during strategy sessions? Is it something people pay you for to strategize for them, or what like what is the strategy really about?
Okay, strategy pretty much cuts across everything. There is hardly anything I look at nowadays, or there's hardly anything I look at that doesn't. I mean, strategy is pretty much everything. In layman terms, I will define or explain strategy as this. I am currently in Abuja, and I need to travel all the way to Lagos. Strategy entails what is the best route for me to get to Lagos? Do I go by road or do I go by air? Do I go by road from Lagos directly or from Abuja directly to Lagos? Or do I go by road from Abuja to Kaduna, then I fly down to Lagos? So strategy involves the roadmap, say things you need to do to make the process of your transitioning from Abuja to Lagos as easy and seamless as possible. So for me, I for my businesses and for businesses I'm a part of, strategy is like the everyday thing for us. I mean, I have strategy as a cup of coffee in the morning because without strategy, it's almost impossible to survive the day. So I also for people who that's why I said I only advise people when asked. I mind my business because for me to give my input, I really need to understand what you're facing or what you're passing through. So for me to successfully do that, that involves a lot of me thinking strategically to solve your problems or to give you necessary advices. So that's pretty much strategy for me. Strategy is more like a everyday thing, more like I live it, I breathe it, I eat
Wow.
it, and that's it for me.
That's great. For me, I like to say plan everything, but I think strategy is like a deeper way of planning and trying to get things done. So
Yeah, it's a deeper way of
mm,
planning because yeah, you put 100 people in a room, they plan, you give them a task to do, and they plan it out like how they plan to go about the task. But what's actually set about the 1% is the strategy. Just like I earlier cited the example of traveling from Abuja to Lagos, I would actually go with the person who saves me more money and saves me more time. Because if I go by road, on the average, I spend 10 to 12 hours on the road. I go by air, 45 minutes, I'm
yeah.
there. So which is going to save me more money in the long run, which is going to save me more money in the short run. So that's pretty much the play on
Mm,
strategy.
fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer. So, from your bio, you said you've had your own fair share of failing at some business ventures. So, I want to ask you to, can you share one of your experiences with us and highlight three important lessons that you got to learn from that experience?
Okay, yeah. Uh, with my limited years of experience, I think I have a whole lot to tell. We can sit from today till tomorrow to talk about failures, but I think I'll highlight one that is quite relevant to this
Okay.
conversation. So I started out as a graphic designer and I built a business out of it. Fortunately, unfortunately, the business failed and I needed to shut it down. So the way it happened is this. Then I was making good money from it. I mean, I could sort out my needs. I could cater for a few other people who were connected to me. I mean, I was running things in code. And I got this opportunity to actually get on a project. It's quite huge, quite huge. I mean, then say about 3 4 years now. Yeah, I think about 3 years. Then the business was doing well, and well, this guys reached out. Well, let's get on the project together and let's do this thing. And the figures were really huge. So I figured, oh, well, since from my journey so far, I was doing in the millions. I mean, in naira, not dollars. So why can't I mean, step up and live up to the challenge of this really huge project? So we started negotiating. The negotiation took quite a while because we needed to understand their expectations and I needed to understand the deliverables on our end. Also, we needed to set a few KPIs and just to get things in sync and to get started. So the project required I get a lot of extra hands and also required I employed people as well. By this time, I already had partners who were working with me. So we got to it. We got to the whole recruitment process. We did all of that, all of that. So it got to the point we were to what's the name to finalize on the commercials. We already did all of that. Were to expect payment, but the thing is the timeline for the project is quite fast paced. So we needed to, because I needed to live up to the end of the bargain, because they asked a few questions. Are you sure you're ready for us? Do you have the capacity? So I went all out to make sure everything was ready. So we don't just start running around when they tell us to get go. And okay, we got people that costed us a lot of money. I mean, to get people, to recruit people. We wanted the best hands on this thing. We wanted to do something we could be proud of. Because if we did this well, that would catapult us to the next stage there is. So maybe in the billions and all of that. So we got at it. We, from our own money, we recruited people, we set things in motion and all that, expecting payments and for us to start. Then all of a sudden, something came up. The organization had to disband,
What?
and the plug was
What?
pulled from the project. So like that was a big slap. And that was like the biggest thing to ever happen to me so far in terms of failure in business.
Wow.
I didn't anticipate that. I didn't see that coming. So like everything just crashed in front of me, and the funny thing was dead because the negotiation took a while, say maybe 2 3 months to finalize on. So there were a lot of demands we were having, but we needed to redirect them to some other people we know to sort things out for them. So like we were sending business away because we needed to focus on so we don't have the problem where we have too much on our hands and won't be able to deliver. So well, everything went down crumbling. Well, they apologized for the whole thing, and they were able to sort a few of the bills, but it didn't quite sit well with me because I mean I already started seeing this thing, I already started living in it,
Exactly.
like soaking in the the new stage or the new level of the business. So it was a whole lot. It was a whole lot. It costed me a whole lot. Apart from money, it costed me a lot of social capital. Say a lot of vendors, a lot of people I reached out to, a lot of people that believed in me and all that. It costed me a whole lot of social capital. So I actually had to start rebuilding from the scratch. So immediately after that incident, I just decided, no, this is it. I tried to wait it out to see what happens, but it was like I already used up all the energy in me for this, so I needed to take a break. So the best decision moving on was just to take a pause and see what happens, and maybe eventually we'll have to shut it down or we can restart or refresh again. So I took a pause. I took the pause, and it was tough for me to recover from it. I'm grateful for the friends I have, the really amazing people. I'm grateful for family as well. My inner circle, I don't joke with them. I mean, these are really, really, really good. These are really amazing people. Although there are a few of them and they know themselves.
Shout out.
So thank you if you're out there listening.
Yeah.
So oh, yeah, yeah. Shout out, shout out,
Yeah.
shout out. So yeah, that happened, and I needed to move on from that. So the lessons I learned from this is number one, um, don't get easily carried away with what is seemingly out of your reach. Hold on to what you currently have and build with it. Don't get carried away by what is seemingly out of your reach, although it seems close. Don't get carried away with it, whereby you have to lose what you currently have. That's number one. Because yeah, I understand entrepreneurs, they dream big, they want to do things, they want to make exploits, they want to do faster things in less time. They want to, I mean, blow in quotes. That's what our generation calls it nowadays. They want to blow so fast. So like they get to reach out for things that are looking close, but they are not exactly it. So that's one. And number two, do not exactly bite more than you can chew. Although I know there is that conception of, oh, bite more than you can chew, so you start chewing it as you're moving.
Yeah.
It's a really dangerous thing to
Yes.
do because one, it can kill you. Two, if it doesn't kill you, it causes you a lot of constipation. Three, you only realize you are useless for it at the end of the day. So then yes, this was beyond our capacity. We wanted to bite, but the biting was too much. It was too much. It was more than ourselves. And in that process, we needed to incur a lot of costs in getting more people. So that's it. And let me chip in a positive thing I learned because it cannot all be negative. So the positive thing I learned was pretty much I learned a whole lot of selling and a whole lot of documentation along the line. Because for this level of work or negotiations, it required so much of documentation, so much of emails, back and forth emails. I mean, you need to shalaye yourself very, very well in an email.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned so much of that. So
Hmm.
I mean, this skill has followed me till today, and right now, when anybody is trying to any negotiation, I mean, and they're throwing their emails, I'm just like, okay, can you give me better?
Calm down.
Because I mean, I pretty much have faced it a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's just a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
So I pretty much faced it, and I feel that was a major positive for me.
Hmm.
So those are three things I learned from failure, from that particular failure.
Amazing. I mean, that's fantastic. I love the fact where you said that it cannot all be negative. I mean, there are positive things that you got to learn at that point. But at this, the thing is, I have failed before. I know what failing is like. And for me, times when I fail, I deal with a lot of self-doubt. I start asking myself that is it that you were just deceiving yourself before and you thought this and that. So I want to know what do at that point, I don't know if you felt this way at that point.
Sure, I
How
did.
did you build your confidence back up? How did you say, okay, I'm not just going to quit? At that point, some people would have said, oh, maybe this entrepreneurship thing is not for me. Maybe I should just go back to my 9 to 5 or something. So what kept you going at this point? How did you keep a positive attitude and build yourself back up?
Okay. If I may speak freely, entrepreneurship is hard. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and not everyone can be an entrepreneur. I do not say this to spite the 9 to 5ers. I do not say it to look down on anybody, but it is what it is. Hard things are hard, and entrepreneurship is one of these things. And by entrepreneurship, I know there's been a conversation about who exactly is an entrepreneur. So there's been a divide between self-employed people, freelancers, skilled people, and actually people who build businesses. It's a different ballgame when you set out to start and build a business. This requires of you a whole lot than you bargained or ever planned for. So, with this in mind, how I was able to survive mine, even though I quit. Is it right to say I quitted? Is there something like that? Quit or quitted, whichever works. Even though I did that, but what kept me going or what made me come back again to this was because I had a really strong support system. I value people a whole lot. I do not joke with people. I do not joke with my friends. So I had this support system, and I was vulnerable with a few of them I was able to talk to at that time. They told me, they didn't put pressure on me that, oh, go back. They just listened to me. I needed to talk, I needed to explain things that happened. They listened to me and they gave me the comfort I required. They told me to take my time and things would actually play out. And one very important thing I've learned from the journey of life is this: life actually makes more sense, or you can connect the dots only when you look backwards. Today, I'm very grateful for having failed at that time because it has exactly informed a lot of things I do today. I'm extra cautious not to give so much of my commitment when I do not see commitment from the other end. This has shaped so many aspects of my life beyond business, relationships, relational experiences with people, the way I do my things. I need to see that energy from you for me to actually give you that energy. Or I need to give you that energy and expect you give me that energy as well. So, looking back at this, my friends helped me get out of a whole lot of this. Um, it wasn't so many people I could tell, and also I particularly like to thank my founder then. I said my founder, my partner then. He was a really really great guy. He stood by me throughout the experience. Part of his money was into this. I mean, we literally employed people and we needed to pay them for their time. So we do not hear our names
Wow.
in on Insta blog or or Twitter or something. Because I really know what it feels like for you to go through the whole interview process and you're about to start work and we tell you, oh, sorry, there is no work. So we needed to pay them. So he's a really great guy, really, really great guy. Uh, we still have a whole lot of conversations together. I still spoke with him about an hour ago. We still talk. We do business together. Just that we're not exactly partners, but he's doing amazing. I'm doing amazing too. So he was there as well. He understood me. He understood what business was. So for you who is feeling down, yeah, I see you. I understand you. I know it might be tough, but that was why I gave a disclaimer at the beginning. Hard things are hard, and entrepreneurship is one of these things at the top of the list. So I would advise you not to give up. I would advise you not to give in. Like I mentioned earlier as well, life exactly only makes sense when you look back, because then only you can successfully connect the dots. When you look forward, it looks so scattered, like it's too many things. You can easily connect or make sense or make meaning out of it. But you would only understand that this experience you're currently passing through adds up to what is about to come for you. You need what you're passing through, though. You need this resilience, you need this grit, you need this tenacity of purpose, you need this test of purpose, because really anything worthwhile has to be tested. So if eventually you would make good stuff out of what you're passing through right now, please stay in, standing there. And also, if you get the nudge to quit, please quit. You're not impressing anybody. You're doing this for yourself, you're doing this for the people who care about you. Think less of what people think about what happens when you quit. If you feel and you prayed about it, if you're a Christian, please quit. Quit, take time off, take necessary time off, and come back when you feel you're ready for it. So that's what I would have to say to anybody passing through that current situation.
Wow. I love what you said about support systems. I like it's so powerful. So just having people who would not judge, because I feel even sometimes you just thinking about what people would say, just you're like, oh my gosh, what would people say? I feel that just cripples you. That just makes you feel
Mm,
like God, you're a failure. But yesterday
mm,
I was thinking to myself, I heard someone was going through a bad time, and I heard that the person was actually losing weight and just looking all skinny, and I was like, do you know sometimes the problem might be big, but it might not be that bad. It might be the
mm,
conversations that you have with yourself that might amplify how
yeah.
you are feeling in that moment. So what you said about having support systems and talking to people, I just feel like it's amazing. And then you never know where they might be able to help one way or the other. So that's
Hmm.
fantastic.
I failed to do something. I Before you go on, I think I failed to complete on what I just said, because yeah, I've spoken about my failure. How did I exactly build up back from there? This also has to do with people as well, and the relationships you cultivate. I owed people dearly. I owed my friends dearly. I mean, these were people who I had to leverage on, because pretty much I didn't exactly have money. I didn't exactly have too much money. I mean, to start up again. So I exactly had to reach out to my network. I had to reach out to people. I had to leverage on the social capital I had. I didn't have money, but I had goodwill. I mean, people knew who I was. They knew I could get stuff done. So after that, funny enough, all I had to do when I made up my mind was, okay, let me try see if I can get a job or thereabouts. And I called or reached out to two friends. And within that same week, they set me up an interview with the HR. I was like, all right. So yeah, I think I still have this stuff with me. Everybody's looking for a job, or I call and I get an interview scheduled with me with the HR. I was like, oh well, I'm good. Funny enough, I went to the interviews. One, they were looking for a skill I exactly did not have. Although I could train for the skill, but they needed me to to start on the spot like the following day, and that wasn't they didn't have the time. Say to take me about 2 to 3 months to level up on the skill level they require. So I had to pass on that offer. The other one, yeah, wanted to get me in, but we had a price war, say a compensation salary discussion, which wasn't working for me because then at the time I figured because I was still considering or deliberating going back into business or entrepreneurship full time, but I needed to be sure anything I was committing to was worth my money or was worth the time I was going to spend and the dedication, because I do not only bring to the organization skills any other person would. I had successfully run a business and failed. So there are a lot of things I'd learned. There are a lot of things I bring to the table beyond what they're recruiting. So I felt I should be compensated for that. So I needed or I had to pass on that offer.
Amazing. Amazing. You've said a lot of things. I'm like, why don't I know this? But it's fine. I mean, that's the whole point. We get to learn. We get to learn from you. So
Mm.
you sort of have said a lot already.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You said a lot already, but looking back now, looking back at your journey, like looking back at all the businesses, all the business
Yes.
ventures and all that, considering what you know now, what would you do differently? What would be your
Yes.
first action, especially when you want to start a business? What would you do differently?
Okay. I would like to highlight two things that are important, and I pretty much just got to discover that recently. Or let me say, yeah, I got to discover those two things, and they've stood by me or stuck with me. Number one, learn to take stock. For people or for high performers, entrepreneurship are pretty much, or entrepreneurs are pretty much in the category. A lot of people, I mean, high performers generally. This I'm speaking beyond entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship included as well. They get so worked up in what they're doing, or so worked up in their journey. They do not exactly take stock of how far they've come, or what they've accomplished, or what they've done. I got to a point in my journey, yeah, understood the journey is lonely, but I got to a point where I started to doubt some of the things or where I currently was. I was thinking, oh, I should actually do better than this. I mean, there's better, there's more, but what I failed to realize was, it was until I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and he started to refer me back to things I said to him about 4 years ago, things I said to him about 5 years ago that made his life take a different turn around and set him straight on his journey. And I'm like, wait, I actually said this. So I had so much impacts like this. I had so much understanding at that time to say this. Um, that actually made me feel good. It actually set me back in track. It made me know, yeah, what I was doing was actually worth it. The extra hours I was putting in, the books I was reading, the books that were beyond me, I was reading, the kind of understanding I was seeking that was beyond me, that was after and getting is actually paying off. So it's important to take stock. I think it helps you in those days when you feel like throwing in the towel, you feel like giving up. When you take stock, you can easily remember, oh yeah, I've come this far. If I have come this far, why wouldn't I be able to continue? That gives you fuel, that gives you ginger. Because trust me, you get tired on this journey. You get tired on this road. But what fuels you or what gives you that drive, again, is when you take stock and you're being able to refer back to it. So I advise you keep a journal if you can. Take a lot of pictures. Yeah, pictures are very, very important. They remind you of memories. See, when you first started, this was what you were doing. Now this is what you see the progress and you'll be so amazed. That will keep you back on track. That's the first thing. So for the second, I would want to say entrepreneurship is not exactly for a lot of people. There's a lot of misconception about, yes, you get into entrepreneurship to build wealth. Yes, entrepreneurship is about building wealth in the long run, but the journey doesn't exactly seem like you're building wealth. And why I say that is this: there's a lot of your money, a lot of your personal finances that goes into entrepreneurship. There's a lot of sacrifices you have to make. I mean, you would have to cut down on your salary. Sometimes you have to return your salary back to the business because you have employees and you need to pay them at the end of the month. And you're not looking at your projections, you're not being able to meet up with the the cash flow required to pay salaries by the end of the month. So be conscious at the same time to actually build your personal wealth because you wouldn't be in this journey forever. Say before you know it, you started this year, in 5, 7 years down the line, you only discover you've come this far and you have little or nothing to show for it. So as you build your business, consciously build yourself, consciously build your finances, seek investment opportunities that you can explore. When you explore this, when you put in money for this and you put in a lot of intentionality into this, it actually pays off in the long run. So those are just the two things I would want to highlight.
Yeah, thanks for everything you shared so far. My audience will not forgive me if I don't ask this very important question. What, like, you're so knowledgeable. I consider you a business expert. Like the terms you use and how you do business basically. So can you share some um resource places where people can read up stuff, like your favorite maybe business blog or something, maybe YouTube channels or books? Yeah, recommend a book for my audience. They should go and, like, they should get and help that can help them in the business. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So yeah, there's a whole lot of newsletters I'm subscribed to that are business related to the Financial Times, Bloomberg, Advert Business Review. There are a whole lot, and I'm subscribed to a few people who I consider independent researchers. Like these guys do a lot of deep research in business. They might not be particularly useful to your audience because I mean they're more of technical stuff, and I understand there's a problem when you give people bone. At least you start to feel fit them or to win them before you give them bone, so they don't have constipation. So, for anybody who need any of those deep stuff, you can reach out to me personally. I'll put you through on it. But for the sake of general knowledge, um, Twitter is a major and open university for me. Twitter has been amazing. I've met amazing people, and I have learned things I would sit in a class for a month. I wouldn't learn. I've learned it in an hour. The reason I think Twitter is that powerful is this. It limits you, the number of words limit you, so you actually want to make sense of what you want to say. So rather than using big grammar and using grammar people do not understand, you want to make yourself as simple and as short, as concise as possible. So yes, don't get me wrong, they're the bad side of Twitter. I mean, there's all the dragging and all that on Twitter, there's all the bans, but I try to stay clear of that. And once I notice these people are on my timeline, I either unfollow or I block. Another effective way is this to actually create a list on your Twitter. By list, you'll be able to consolidate the people you want to follow or you want to receive their content. You can also subscribe to topics. Say, for example, you can subscribe to topics on business intelligence, startups, venture capitalism, or venture capitalists. I mean, for people who are particularly interested in investing or investment, you can also subscribe to things you love generally. It's you don't necessarily have to follow those people. It's to bring those topics to your timeline and you can read from. So I've gained a lot of business insights, and Twitter has greatly helped me. So there is this book I would consider my business manual because I go back to this book all the time. Yeah, I mean I keep reading, 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 reading. The name of the book is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. It was written by Ben Horowitz. The Hard Thing About Hard Things. This book actually summarizes his journey as an entrepreneur. And like I earlier mentioned, my particular interest right now are in technology, startups, innovation, and all of that. So he has had a lot of hiccups on the road, almost impossible things that he had to do and pull off with his business. So I was able to, well, I'm being able to, through this book, gain insight, wisdom, and understanding from this guy. It talked about firing up onto the way of hiring the right people, up onto the way of managing finances, the right time to make moves. There pretty much a whole lot in it. So that's why I consider it my business manner, because I pretty much face this on a daily basis. So I can always refer back and gain some insight from it. And also one very particular thing beyond books, I belong to a community of founders, not exactly a community per se. We didn't create this community, but we relate with each other. They're pretty much people who have things running, they have businesses running. So whenever we get to discuss, see, we can sit on a call for 2 hours, 3 hours, or we can see each other for 2 hours, 3 hours. We can have lunch. We can, I mean, just something to get us in touch on a weekly basis. When we get to talk about things we're passing through, we get to gain advices. They tell me things they're passing through. I try to provide solutions. I tell them things I'm passing through. I need to get in touch or in contact with someone, they can easily put me through. They can recommend people. I can recommend people. So that kind of mutual relationship, that's beyond book for me, because relationship drives all industry. There is hardly any industry that to play at the 1% you do not need relationship. Yes, skill is good, skill is important, but trust me, I've seen things and I know the 1% actually thrive relationships, because relationships will do things for you that skill cannot do. Relationships will do things for you that intellect cannot do. I'm not saying don't be intelligent. I'm not saying don't read, don't explore, don't open up yourself to opportunities. But relationships, people are the gatekeepers. And you're trying to achieve anything, please take them serious. This would also make me mention or point to the fact that I kind of have a relationship budget, say for my inner people, my inner circle people, my friends, where I am intentional. Yeah, not exactly gatekeepers. I mean, my circle. Yeah, I'm very intentional about a lot of my things. I think virtually everything I'm intentional about it. So I have this budget in my mind. Although I sometimes will write it down. Sometimes I write it down as friends and families, or I write it down as miscellaneous in my budgeting, that I commit to calling these people and reaching out to them, not to ask them for a favor, but to understand what they're passing through and how I can help them. Sometimes I just call to listen to what problem they have. I just call to listen to what challenge they have, or possibly I just call them to chat with them. Oh, did you see this? Did you see that? I'm very intentional about these things because I know there will come a time where I will need their help on something. It will be easy for me to pick up the phone and say, I don't even need to have any introduction. I don't even need to all the pleasantries. I might skip all of that and just go straight to the point. I need this, I need that, I need this. How can we get this done? Simple. But without having this commitment, it seems quite difficult to leverage that. So, as much as possible, I'm intentional with this by having a budget. I commit to people.
Yeah, so thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much for the
Yep, you're
deep
welcome.
business insight. I feel like I just went to a business school. I feel like I have my MBA right now.
A
Just
business call. Oh well,
saying.
but this is actually basic. This is basic business talk, basic business conversation. When you get to the
Basic,
deep stuff, you pretty
basic.
much have a dick.
You
This is
call
just
this
basic stuff.
basic?
Trust me, because
Oh,
when you
please,
mean
please. Mm.
there's some conversations or there's some rooms. I mean, and I feel like I don't know Jack, because I mean this guy's is spitting things and like really.
Wow.
But anyways, I give myself some more credence, because most times I'm always the youngest in the room. I mean, these people say they can even give birth to me, so I don't get so bothered or pressured about it. So it's been a really
Okay.
really good opportunity and learning experience for me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, how can my audience connect with you? And if you have any products, just tell us all about it so we can connect with you right now, or project rather.
All right, all right. So I do not exactly have a consumer facing product I'm working on right now, because a few of these products are still in their pre-seed stage. They're still currently being worked on. They're not things to get out to the public yet until public launch. So I wouldn't be talking about them, but there are a few things I'm working on that are really, really interesting. And trust me, when they eat public, there'll be a lot of people to get on it. So you can reach me. I have a website. That's if I remember the what's the web address. Yeah, I do. It's www.olaoluwa.com. PREIZ.xyz. That's my website. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Live of PREIZ. That's Live of Praise. My friends actually got me that nick. It's just a different way of spelling praise. My name is Praise, and the spelling is PRAISE, but they prefer to call me or to spell my name as PREIZ. So on my social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Live of PREIZ. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me, Judith. I think I had very, very interesting time. I got to talk about this. I've not exactly had the time to talk or to talk to so many people at once. I have much been doing the one-on-one advices and all that. So I think this is a really good opportunity, and thank you so much for this.
Wow, you're welcome. It was a huge privilege having you here because I knew that you're like
Yeah,
the best person in my space to actually speak on the topic. So thank you so much for being here.
it's okay. It's okay. It's
All
okay.
right.
All right. Yeah, take care. Bye, guys. Cheers.
Congratulations, we're making significant progress on this journey already. Remember the journey I spoke about earlier? We are one step ahead right now. Please do not forget to share this podcast with a friend and leave a review on Apple Podcasts for us. I'm sure that by now you've subscribed to the show, but if you haven't, do so now. You can follow the conversation on Instagram at thejm.show. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your nuggets were from this episode. You can also send in your questions via email or via voice notes. We would appreciate your support to keep the show going, so do well to make a donation. All the details will be in the show notes. Till next time, keep living.